already set up and waiting for our signal. We're going down to the table, and they're going to flip their starting Pokemon, and then the sparks will fly.
All right, so we do get to talk a little bit about these players first before we dive into this match. Of course, Piper Lepine with that Baltimore regional champion under her belt here in 2023, taking the first regional there. 2022, of course, NAIC top 32, Indianapolis regional top 32, and EUIC top 60 for Piper, coming in from seniors recently as well, and just seeing so much success in the Masters division now. Of course, piloting that Mewtwo V Union control deck, something Piper has been playing for over a month now on this list, and just knows it very well.
And that list is very strong, but when we compare that to Caleb Gedemer, Chip already said a multi-regional champion, Daytona Beach in 2020, Denver in 2019, Philadelphia in 2018, Bogota Bay in 2018, and, oh, the special champion, pardon me, my goodness. But you can see he's been around for a long time. He's been doing this for a long time, and he's on the Kyogre Lost Box. This deck is also one that rewards a player that's been sticking with it for a long time. He's showcased the power time and time again. The threat of the Kyogre is there, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Shelby. This is indeed going to be an uphill battle. The burst damage that you need to normally deal with Mewtwo V Union just isn't there for this deck. It likes to set up KOs and take them later, and Piper's deck is built to deny that.
Yeah, absolutely. So checking out these prize cards for both of our players, I don't think I'm seeing anything too spicy. Of course, a lot. I mean, the Cramorant here, I suppose. I actually don't think either of these are too bad for either player. I suppose the Silene, potentially Palpad, a lot of resources that are kind of used to recycle from the deck for Piper. But yeah, nothing too bad for either player.
Right. The Silene being at the top of the prize cards especially means that Piper isn't going to be going for any sort of like Silene, Misfortune, Sisters, Mill shenanigans that might be an option in this matchup. Caleb, meanwhile, has some good footing to get, you know, that early setup and try to start taking the KOs.
Into our Masters top 4 match. This is as good as it gets here in our Pokemon stream, and we are kicking it off.
Piper starting off with Evital in the active, has that Cry of Destruction attack to discard special energy. Not going to be relevant for this matchup. Piper is going to be trying to look for Snorlax right off the bat with the Quick Ball. Going to take advantage of that Gormandize ability. If she can get this up into the active spot, just draw up to 7 cards in exchange for ending your turn immediately. And that's really all you care about. You have to draw all 4 pieces of Mewtwo V Union and then somehow get them into the discard pile to summon that big final boss. Once Mewtwo V Union hits the board, Caleb has nearly 0 options to deal with it. Is going to have to try to find the prize cards by knocking out the Snorlax and some of these other Pokemon that might be benched afterwards.
Absolutely, but we are going to see Piper just popping off here, of course, with that Gormandize from the Snorlax. This is what we're going to be seeing for a while here until Piper can map out that Mewtwo V Union, because that is the aim right now for Piper, as well as any sort of disruption. Piper does have a lot of disruption cards. Of course, it is a control list, so there are some things that we could see that would make Caleb's time in this match even more difficult. But why it's so difficult for Caleb in this matchup is just because you don't really do enough damage output to deal with the Mewtwo V Union. So once that comes out, it's very difficult. But even then, these Snorlax, the Gormandize Snorlax is 130 HP, which can be a bit awkward for you to have to deal with as well. The Cramorant only hits for 110. You can do these damage counters here and there, but if your opponent is just scooping that Pokemon up, everything you're working toward is just being wiped. On top of that, you do have to deal with the disruption, with also having such little disruption yourself on your opponent. So it is going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The Snorlax can simply be scooped back up into the hand with the Scoop Up Net. I believe Piper is on 4 of them. Not only is it great for, you know, getting rid of those damage counters, recycling those abilities, getting some switches when you absolutely need them. We see the Galar Mine there in the stadium spot, making it even harder for Pokemon to retreat. But the other use of the Scoop Up Net, of course, is once Mewtwo V Union comes into play, you use the Scoop Up Net to make sure it's your only Pokemon in play, and then your opponent doesn't have any gusting options. Caleb, meanwhile, starting off with the Battle VIP Pass, trying to see what he wants out of the deck. How is he going to complete his setup? We know that Comfey, one of the best ways to get it out of the active, if you don't have your scoop up nets, your switch carts, your escape ropes, is to do that attach and then natural retreat. And so Galar Mine is going to cut that off.
Yeah, so this is a deck, of course, we've seen on the stream before. Caleb has been playing against his own teammates, really, to get to this point as well. So this is an exact 60 list we have seen before. But now it is in the hands of Caleb here, being piloted. So this Radiant Greninja is actually going to be really huge for Caleb to actually have a decent amount of damage that you can start stacking here and there, but it's going to be really critical for Caleb to hold on to it, because that's kind of one of your only strategies against the Mewtwo V Union once it's out. You know, the Mewtwo V Union has a built-in big parasol with its ability as well, so it cannot, the effects of attacks, so not including damage, but damage counters and such, doesn't affect it. And that's just, it's a built-in ability. It is just a wall of a difficult time that you have to deal with. Yeah.
The Mewtwo V Union being difficult to deal with is the pure win condition of this deck. It was, you know, just foiling the Arceus decks back in the day where they would equip that double turbo energy and then just not be able to deal more than 200 damage at a time. But Caleb still slowly but surely trying to complete his side objective of getting as many cards in the Lost Zone as possible. Radiant Greninja with that concealed cards ability doing a good job of seeing a lot of the deck. Caleb also is going to be mindful that Piper has tons of hand disruption and needs to make use of these resources as they come into the hand. He can't really take time to sit and wait and see what Piper's going to do. He knows that he has to be the proactive one here in this matchup. We see Cramorant now, 4 cards in the Lost Zone. That's going to be, you know, not a one-hit knockout, as you said, Shelby, but as long as you get that damage down, it does force Piper to have the second. Exactly. Yes. Do you have the scoop net already? Do you have another Snorlax already to go back into the active? Because Piper doesn't want to strand this Evital into the active either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely. I believe so. Piper did play down that Evital there because there was no other Pokemon, I think, in
that was the starter.
Yes. So, well, it was scooped up, but it was put back down. Wow, here we go. Starting off with a Crushing Hammer. Ooh, it is going to be, another one. No,
double
2 tails on that Crushing Hammer. So no discard of that energy, which is pretty crucial. I was talking about, you know, Piper does have these cards that is going to add disruption into the mix as well for Caleb. And in a Lost Box deck, you have to conserve your energies as best as you possibly can, because you need them for your attacks. So it's pretty rough if Piper is able to kind of stack these Crushing Hammers, take them back out of the discard potentially, and have answers to that too, just adding more of a difficult time for you. But as we've said before, and we've seen on the stream as well, this Gourmandize is just going to be drawing so many cards into Piper's hands. We did, I think, see the Marnie.
Yeah, the Marnie really popped off, and the Scoop Up Net as well, saving the damage on that Evital, and Snorlax is just back in the active, going to continue to Gourmandize. Caleb has the Cramorant at the very least to keep that continuous pressure up. Piper isn't going to be putting down any offensive pressure as of yet, and so Caleb has a wide window of opportunity to continuously threaten with the Cramorant over and over. Has the Colress's Experiment now as well to see 5 cards. You get to pick 3 to put into your hand, and the remaining 2 go to the Lost Zone. Bit of a difficult situation here. Another Colress being offered as well as a Psychic Energy.
Yeah, we're just going to have to see Caleb take pretty much as many prize cards as possible off of these 1 prize Pokemon up until the point that Mewtwo V Union comes out, because that's when the difficulty is going to begin. So this is kind of a race here for Caleb, getting these cards into the Lost Zone to enable some of your attackers like the Sableye to place those damage counters and start taking some knocks here and there. But unfortunately, that Miltank that's over there for Piper as well.
Yeah, the Miltank is not really going to have the dominance that it likes to see in other matchups. That Miracle Body ability.
Well, it is 110. I was looking for that, the HP. So it is 110 HP. So that's exactly what Cramorant hits for, of course. Doing that to the Snorlax here that is in the active position, and then we are just back over to Piper. Piper just able to stack all of these cards in hand. It kind of just...
Another Crushing Hammer. Tails on Crushing
gosh,
Hammer
that's
number
3.
3. So Radiant Greninja's been able to keep some energy attached, keep stacking up to threaten the Moonlight Shuriken. A couple early prizes.
That's actually great.
Maybe within his grasp.
Yeah, that's super important, as we've been talking about for Caleb, to be attacking with anything that you can. Take these 1-prizers, and also Ordinary Rod is in the list as well for Caleb. So if that Radiant Greninja does go down in some sort of way, you could just get it back out, put it back into your deck.
And if that is the case, that's going to really massively increase Caleb's offensive pressure. And here comes Misfortune Sisters. You look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck, and you can discard all the item cards that you see there. 4 out of 5 now going immediately to the discard pile. And Scoop Up Net number 3 denying that prize to the Cramorant once more. Snorlax goes back to the hand, gets healed, and now Palpad returning the Misfortune Sisters back to the deck. This is sort of the alternate win condition here, and Silene also now being put into the deck too. So if Caleb takes too much time to get any prize cards or get offensive strategies going, the Misfortune Sisters are going to eat through the deck, and Caleb will lose all utility.
Well, even if it doesn't lead to that being the win con, getting rid of your item cards is pretty rough. You know, 4 cards that you are not intending to discard, especially for this deck, for Lost Box, that you're filtering through your own deck. You know, you need these cards, half of them, to be going into your Lost Zone so you can start doing things with Sableye and such. So having those cards just sent to your discard pile is definitely a tough situation as well to be in for Caleb.
It's going to get really terrifying if Caleb loses out on the Ordinary Rods, for example. But we've got Radiant Greninja once more using that concealed cards, and Colress's Experiment. That is going to put Caleb up to 8 cards in the Lost Zone. So now we've got the threat of Mirage Gate here to get a little bit more tempo out of these attacks, right? To start threatening a little bit more damage. And Piper has already used a lot of Scoop Up Nets. Caleb's done a good job of just presenting that consistent damage threat thanks to the early Cramorant. Oranguru also in the hand to kind of manipulate, maybe put something on top that won't get discarded by the Misfortune Sisters.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the supporters here as well for Piper that we have. Some of the disruption supporters. Of course, we did see that Marnie, which dwindles your opponent's hand down as well as yours, but really good early game when you don't have a giant hand that you're working with. You might as well just pop it off and kind of throw your opponent for a loop there. But we do see cards like Flannery as well. Of course, you mentioned one of your favorite cards, I swear, Scarzik, that Misfortune Sisters.
I know, it's so dastardly in this specific matchup. Lost Box does not like it. Ultra Ball going to find a Mewtwo V-Union leg, then immediately gets discarded by the Quick Ball. Just going to fail that right now, just thinning the deck down even more. Wait, no, pardon me. I think Grab Pyukumuku looks like they're underneath the hand.
Quick balling out the leg of the Mewtwo V-Union. Always cracks me up when we're talking about Mewtwo V-Union in pieces. It's
so Pyukumuku does have that Pitch a Pyukumuku ability. You can, once per turn, put it on the bottom of the deck and then draw another card from the top and gets Peonia. This is another supporter allowing you to look at 3 cards from your prizes, then choose any 3 cards from your hand to put them back in any way you like. Yeah,
this is actually a very, very good card in this deck because if you prize your critical pieces that you have, you just have access to them and you take them out of your prize card. So definitely a card that we see making an appearance in the Mewtwo V-Union. It's definitely one that you see quite often in these lists, if not all of them.
Yeah, we saw a Mewtwo V-Union, I believe it was yesterday, that had Peonia and Mewtwo V-Unions in the prizes. It was just completely cursed.
Yeah, that was definitely tough for sure. And you know, I think that list was playing 2 Peonia as well. But when the 2 pieces and you only drew into 1 off that first Peonia, that is bad news bears. But that's not what's happening here for Piper in this match. Everything is going as planned so far, and Caleb is still being left. Of course, we do have 8 cards in the Lost Zone now, so approaching that 10. We also have the Radiant Greninja on the board here with those 3 energies attached. So Moonlight Shuriken is sure to get some mons here.
Yep, we've got the switch cart now to put the Cramorant on the bench. Radiant Greninja now in the active. Moonlight Shuriken allows you to deal 90 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon when you discard 2 energy as well to pay for that attack. And with only Piper's only Marnie now out of the equation, 3 scoop up nets out of the equation, this damage is going to start sticking. If all 4 Pokemon that Piper has in play right now go down, Caleb still has to find 2 more prizes somewhere to take this game, and that window is slowly closing where prize cards are easy and free.
Well, not only that, but with the discard of those energies as well, and then if we do see some sort of loop with the Misfortune Sisters on Piper's side, you know, Caleb could be losing essential resources like Ordinary Rod, Energy Recycler, things that you need to conserve your energy and put them back into your deck, and that's a bit of a sticky situation to be in as well. Also, we have this Galar Mine that we haven't even mentioned. It hasn't really been super applicable so far, but that is adding extra retreat costs to these Pokemon as well. So Caleb, I mean, it's not going to be too big of a problem, but again, it's still more cards that Caleb has to burn through in order to pivot out of Pokemon as well. So again, it's just an uphill battle. It's a mountain Caleb is climbing.
Misfortune Sisters. Another one. Let's see.
Another one. Let's see. Yeah, what's it going to hit?
Escape.
Rope?
Oh, just escape rope. Okay.
I mean, but talking about those pivoting cards.
Yeah, it's a really
Galar
important
Mine's in
tool.
play, you know, you need to have those as well. So it's are you just going to run out of resources before you can accomplish what you need to? And that is going to be what is a part of this uphill mountain climb that we're seeing so far.
And Caleb has to constantly take a new stock of what is missing from the deck. You know, you're thinking of a game plan, and the Misfortune Sisters gets rid of the card that you were hoping to draw into to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. Galar Mine, we can see, adds 2 more to the retreat cost. The nightmare scenario is that, you know, Caleb would end up with no switching cards and just something useless stranded in the active. But Piper just going to get rid of the Galar Mine now with the Lost Vacuum, trying to empty the hand in order to make more room to Gormandize. Even though you draw up to 7, you have to somehow find a way to get these cards out of your hand. And Piper, knowing that a lot of these supporters and whatnot aren't directly applicable in this matchup, is now beginning to struggle in using these cards proactively and aggressively to make room for the Gormandize. Still 3 U2 V-Union pieces in the deck, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think we've only seen 1 discarded to a Quick Ball so far, so it is also not the fastest Mewtwo V-Union we've ever seen, but I don't know if I've seen too many times. I guess when you have like both pieces and maybe an Ultra Ball or something in your starting hand, that's great, but yeah, still climbing to that Mewtwo V-Union.
And Caleb now with the Energy Recycler and Mirage Gate combo puts all those energies back into the deck and immediately attaches them to Radiant Greninja to set up another Moonlight Shuriken.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge play. This is what Caleb has been leading to, taking out these Pokemon that are enabling Piper to collect all of these cards and line up her strategy in this matchup. So getting 2 Moonlight Shurikens off is definitely what the aim was in this strategy here going forward. So that's great to see. Not enough resources have been discarded to stop this here. So we're going to see those damage counters, 90 to take out 1 of the Snorlax, and then the other 90 put onto that Miltank.
I love the distribution of the damage here, not focusing down one specific Pokemon to just take a bunch of prizes, but just setting it up so that the Sableye or the Kyogre can take a 2-prize turn or 3-prize turn to seal the deal before Mewtwo V-Union completely shuts him out of this game. I think this is very well navigated here in the first game. And just to double check, Piper, I believe, has only used 3 scoop-up nets, so a little bit of this damage could still be denied. And now with Galar Mine also out of the equation, it's going to be very easy for Caleb to get those final 2 cards in the Lost Zone to activate Lost Mine. Piper now going to dig through the deck aggressively with a big Professor's Research.
Yeah, I didn't see if any of the Mewtwo pieces hit the discard pile in that research either. I see Caleb going through it right now, but I don't think I saw any in there.
Yeah, so now just drawing 7 more. Another Evital. I see a Silene in the hand. Another card to just get those Misfortune Sisters back. And it's funny how, Caleb wants to go through his deck, but needs to make sure certain pieces are left over. And every time Piper plays that Misfortune, the chances of getting rid of that energy recycler or something important like that, it's just so heart-pounding, so harrowing indeed. But Piper just, I think at this point, kind of in awe. So many cards in the discard pile, and only one of them is a Mewtwo V Union piece.
Yeah, I think 3 crushing hammers hitting tails was really unfortunate for Piper because, obviously usually you want to hit heads on that to discard, deny that attachment of the energy on to that Radiant Greninja. So that was pretty huge.
I mean, he is a ninja.
Yes, yeah, and he does require 3 energy, so having had denied those early attachments would have blocked the damage counters being put down. So that was definitely a big turning point in this match, I think, as well.
And so with Sableye being sent to the Lost Zone, another Comfey is put onto the bench with the scoop up net now. This is the final card. Now, after this next flower selecting, this is card number 10 heading to the Lost Zone. So Sableye is now online. Is this going to be a big 3-prize turn? Mirage Gate being sent to the Lost Zone because Caleb wants that psychic energy in the hand. Now we just have to find a way to get this Comfey out of the active. I see one more scoop up net in the hand. There's the attach return onto the Sableye. Lost Mine is active. You can put 12 damage counters wherever you like on the opponent's side. If we look at this damaged Snorlax, damaged Miltank, damaged Evital, these are prizes right for the taking.
Yeah, definitely. Caleb, I mean, both of these players are playing to all of their outs here right now. Piper not being able to line up exactly what's needed so far. Of course, it is always a race to that Mewtwo V Union, but Caleb just remaining so composed as well. I mean, you could tell he's super experienced with this deck, very comfortable, even in a matchup that's
another V Union
difficult.
piece being discarded with an Ultra Ball.
I think I actually saw 3 pieces in there now, so
yeah,
we might
Caleb
just be missing
looking,
one.
Yeah, Caleb is looking to see how much time he has before Mewtwo V Union comes down.
That's
Ultra Ball
could change real quick.
Yeah, so Ultra Ball is actually going to seek out Pyukumuku rather than the other Mewtwo V Union piece. It might be in hand. It just needs to find one more way to discard it. No, you would have discarded it with the Ultra Ball. What am I saying? Piper just doing a little bit more thinning, I guess. There's another Marnie in the hand, too, thanks to the Pal Pad. Silene's also coming through. Tails on that. And heads.
Oh,
okay.
Heads.
What's the card? Misfortune Sister, Pal Pad?
Oh, I think they're trying to figure out which one it was or if it affects it. No, it is going to be Pal Pad. The Pal Pad makes the most sense because then you can get that utility back. You also need to make sure you don't run out of cards as well in your own
so
deck.
Good. The Silene puts the card right back on top, and Pyukumuku lets you get it immediately.
This is the loop. This is the loop, Skarsnik. The famous loop here. Well, I guess one of the many loops that could potentially happen in control decks. But yeah, we did see that Pal Pad to get those 2 supporters. I believe the other one was the Team Yell's cheer as well.
Love to see it.
Put back into the deck.
We've been focusing a lot on the Mewtwo V Union, but this is also another great aspect of the deck is that you identify what is your strongest card, what is the thing I have that my opponent would hate the most, and you just keep cycling it until they lose. And here it is, Mewtwo V Union finally completed. There is 3 damaged Pokemon in play, and Caleb Gedemer needs to find one more prize alongside these 3 damaged Pokemon, and Piper's going to make sure that final prize is the final boss of Mewtwo V Union. We talked about it, Shelby.
Yeah.
There's no way for this deck to deal with Mewtwo.
I mean, I guess there's ways, but yeah, it is very, very unlikely. A lot of times this is what you see. You just see Pokemon being scooped up after the Mewtwo V Union is down, and that is your wall now that you're working with.
Even has the attachment, going to start working towards that super regeneration and even that Psy Explosion. And there's the Marnie. You have your big win condition, and then you disrupt your opponent. Caleb going to draw 4 cards now from the bottom. It's important to note that Lost Box doesn't do a good job of shuffling its own deck. So now all those cards from the hand are on the bottom and have to be re-fetched.
Yeah, that's just absolutely huge. So that giant hand that Caleb had is now gone to the Marnie. So having to work with just what was drawn off of that Marnie. It looks like 3 energy, I think a Comfey,
And a
and a
bird
Bird Keeper.
keeper. So
So
3 more cards to see.
yeah, the Bird Keeper at least will help that energy draw. I mean, if you're going to draw anything, I suppose that is definitely one option that's pretty great for you. Draw more cards that you potentially can use here.
All right, a little bit more energy and an energy recycler being added to the hand. Another key piece that fortunately didn't get lost to the Misfortune Sisters. Concealed cards to draw 2 more, discarding a lightning energy. There's Kyogre in hand. There's energy recycler. The combo is there. Now, Aqua Storm only hits benched Pokemon. And so this could be the play, now that Mewtwo V Union is still on the bench, to just pull the trigger on the Kyogre, but Caleb doesn't have the means just yet. The hand is still full of energy. Pyukumuku coming back to the hand, pitched, put onto the bottom, and then the top deck is Silene. The loop continues. Tails and 1 more. It's off screen. Looks like a head. She's fishing. What is she going to grab, Boo? Scoop up net. No! The denial of all these damaged Pokemon. Those prizes that Caleb struggled to set up so he could take them later going to be denied by the scoop up net.
Yeah, it might be a little confusing to some people. Like, why are these Evital out on the field? Because it's really not a relevant Pokemon as far as like attacking or anything, or discarding energy, because there's basic energy that Caleb's dealing with. But yeah, you have to keep Pokemon out there so that you don't just get... you don't lose. You have to have Pokemon out there so that if Caleb is doing these damage counters and such, you always have more Pokemon responding to that instead of just getting wiped off your board. But like we usually see, this Mewtwo comes out, and then those Pokemon that have the damage counters just start getting scooped up. It's not even really necessary if your opponent can't get to their final prize card to have to scoop them up, I suppose, either. But another thing I was going to mention too, Scarzy, with that Kyogre play, you usually have to like go to the very bottom of your deck. Like that's one of the last things you do. But Caleb not only has all those energy in hand, but I think he has still a pretty significant amount of cards left in the deck as well. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really tell. It looks like a lot of cards. There was the Marnie, so all of them got shuffled back in, but I guess we could potentially see it still in the future.
If Piper waits too long to put this Mewtwo V Union in the active, you know, Caleb can get a couple snipes here. At least taking these prize cards, Piper had to bench these Evital just as a failsafe, as you mentioned, Shelby.
Yeah.
And now they are easy prizes for Caleb.
Yep, but as long as your opponent's not taking 6, you're still safe in this circumstance here. But this is another strategy we were talking about with this Radiant Greninja to stack those damage counters onto the Mewtwo V Union. But unfortunately, the Mewtwo V Union does have ways to deal with those damage counters.
Yep, just going to heal itself with the Super Regeneration if it wants to. There's a massive size explosion to threaten here. And as long as the Mewtwo V Union doesn't go down, there's nothing that Caleb can really do about it from this position. Ultra Ball now to discard the Gardevoir. And I'm not sure what that second card is, but he's going to find the Pyukumuku. Again, just a great card to just draw 1 more, thinning through the deck, getting these loops up and running. There's another Crushing Hammer, and it is finally heads.
Yes, finally got a heads here on that Crushing Hammer.
Misfortune Sisters, 5 more cards.
Here we go. Looks like
the Ordinary Rod.
Yeah, the Ordinary Rod, like we were talking about, that is a pretty rough one to have hit the discard pile, because that allows you to get Pokemon shuffled back, and energy back into your deck. So not having the Pokemon that you might need, those big attackers that you need, of course, because that Sableye can't put those damage counters onto the Mewtwo V Union. So this is definitely getting down to the wire here for Caleb. It's getting sticky.
Yeah, now the Mewtwo V Union showed up, it's, Daddy's home. He shows up. You can't get through Mewtwo V Union. The final boss is truly here. And after the Union gain ability, he is fully charged up and ready to start wreaking havoc on Caleb's board. And he's just going to scoop it up.
Yep. That was a very valiant effort, though, there from Caleb. And when this is the matchup between you and being a finalist at Toronto Regionals, you are going to try absolutely everything possible. And it's exactly how we kind of mapped it to play out, Skarzig, with that Radiant Greninja being the lead attacker there. Of course, Caleb did get to take those prize cards with it. The Crushing Hammer not having the effect that Piper, I'm sure, wanted it to have, discarding those energies. So there were some Pokemon that came down there, but it was just not enough. Couldn't do it in time, and that's the biggest difficulty. Well, maybe not the biggest, because there's a lot of difficulties with this matchup. But for Caleb, having to grind through this and not only get their own resources to pull these things off, because it's 3 energy you need onto that Radiant Greninja. You can't get to Mirage Gate until you have 7 in the Lost Zone. So you have to grind through your own process and not being able to utilize those attackers like Cramorant early game or things like that. It's really difficult for Caleb to pull this off in time, and that's what we're gonna see. You're gonna do your best, but at the end of the day, Mewtwo V-Union. Like you said, Skarzy, the daddy's home. Oh my gosh.
It's a struggle, but I think that Caleb kind of demonstrated there that there is still a line. You know, if those scoop up nets, there's 2 in the prizes now, and if the other 2 are near the bottom of the deck, and Caleb can actually get these early Cramorant attacks to stick, and you get 3 or 4 prizes right before the Mewtwo V-Union comes down, and suddenly, if we replayed that whole scenario and the 2 Evital are Caleb's final 2 prizes, then suddenly the Kyogre becomes a threat. So I think that with the 2 scoop up nets in Piper's prizes, that is going to be the best case scenario. And where is Caleb's 6th prize? Somebody's reading it.
I was about to say, we're waiting on a re-sleeve of the card right now, so that is where the 6th prize goes. But yeah, like you mentioned, Skarzig, that is definitely a strat there. The Cram is a little awkward into those Snorlax that are 130 HP, but that's still damage. And like we said, you know, you work with what you have, so that's definitely something Caleb can utilize, just not to maybe it's best capability, I suppose, for this matchup. But all right, so yeah, 2 scoop up nets for Piper here in the prize cards, and we saw how crucial those scoop up nets were in the last game here for Piper. Of course, there is Peonia in the deck, so there is the ability to mess with your prize cards, manipulate them a little bit, but also 2 Ultra Balls, like you mentioned before, Skarzig, discarding things that maybe don't have utility for you right now to be able to dwindle your hand down and Gormandize into more is something Ultra Ball helps with, but 2 of them are in the prize cards and one of those Crushing Hammers.
Okay, so important resources missing for Piper is one of the only ways Caleb can truly find a through line in this matchup.
Yeah.
Piper's going to start us off with Snorlax in the active spot, exactly where that lad wants to take his nap, and then Quick Ball to find another Snorlax. Piper looking to see those Ultra Balls are missing, those scoop up nets are missing, but the Mewtwo V-Union pieces are all in the deck. So even though you can't seek them out with the Ultra Ball, it's only a matter of time before, you know, Snorlax eats his way through the deck to get them.
Most definitely. So Piper, I'm sure, feeling good, having won the first game as well, headed into this next game against Caleb. Both players doing everything that they can to secure their spot in the finals of our Toronto Regional. So this is such a huge matchup for both players, and that's a great setup for Piper.
Yeah, I love the attach on the Snorlax. You know, the Twin Energy is there for the Evital and the Miltank, but in this matchup, you can just throw it anywhere just to open up space in your hand for the Gormandize. Caleb top decking, using Flower Selecting, and finds a Battle VIP pass can really open up on this turn.
Yeah.
Get the Cramorant turn 2. We've seen it time and time again from these Lost Box decks. Very easy to do, especially before any Misfortune Sisters have hit. He's got nearly full access to the deck.
Yeah, depending what Piper has in hand right now as well is going to be, as we talked about, there's 2 scoop up nets in the prize cards, so really utilizing those to the best of your ability when you're missing your other 2 is going to be so crucial for Piper. I'm sure from that first deck search, though, that's probably a card you're looking for, so I'm sure she already took note that she's only working with 2 in the deck. So you kind of have to decide, okay, do I want to scoop it up and put it back down, get rid of those damage counters, or do I need to save it for some other play?
And to be perfectly honest, the lack of scoop-up nets, all it means for Piper in the long run is that the Mewtwo V Union is under a bit more pressure to hit the bench earlier than normal, right?
Yeah.
Because as long as you can get the Mewtwo V Union down before Caleb has 2 prizes left, then I think that when you're not under threat of that Aqua Storm, you should be good to go. Got another the Radiant Greninja, discarding the Psychic Energy for concealed cards to draw 2 more. We've also got a Rangaroo to see 1 more. There's the attach to the config. Going to go for a retreat here. And then another flower selecting will be activated. 2 cards in the prize cards so far. A scoop up net.
You mean in the lost zone?
What did I say?
You said 2 cards in the prize cards.
Well, the
no, yes, 2 cards into that lost zone, of course, trying to get to that 4, 7, 10 numbers that we so classically see in the last box matches. So yeah, like you were saying, those cards, like you can take knocks when you're a Piper, you're playing Mewtwo control, but you just have to really balance out the Pokemon that you're placing down when you're going against a deck that can take multiple prize card turns depending on where they stack their damage counters and such. So there is some plays that you have to work around there, but I'm sure Piper is so familiar with this matchup. Yeah. I don't think this is her first rodeo going against this Lost Box deck. And here we go. Quick ball for 1 piece of our Mewtwo.
All right, so 1 piece now in the discard pile. Caleb came up a little bit short on that other turn, only 2 cards now. Didn't get the Cramorant attack, but now Piper finding Snorlax number 3 means that even if the knockout chain starts to happen, we're still going to have plenty of card draw and plenty of ways to dig through the deck. So I still think that Piper, despite those scoop-up nets in the prizes, is in a fantastic position here. Just needs to follow through and has already shown us in game number 1 that she is professional with this deck. Here comes Sydney. You can discard up to 2 item cards and energies that are found there. Finds the special energy and the capture energy, and then Choice Belt getting denied. Choice Belt is fantastic as a discard there because that's one of the rare ways to really boost the damage that this list is capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just another supporter, Sydney, that adds to that disruption for Caleb, getting rid of the 2, or a tool card and a special energy that could come into play, unfortunately. So we do have that loss zone now to 3 cards here for Caleb. It's funny, over on Piper's side, like almost all the Pokemon are asleep.
Yeah, just kicking back, chilling. Caleb is the one that has to, climb the mountain. Has to go through all of this trouble to even get the deck fully online. With the 4th card now entering the Lost Zone, Cramorant is now a threat. Manaphy going to the Lost Zone, so Comfey can enter the hand. But now we've got Cramorant trying to set up, the 2-hit knockouts. Still a long ways away from Sableye. We haven't seen Colress yet.
Yeah, it's so tough when you can't knock out a 130 HP Snorlax and you're even having to grind just to get those knockouts too. It's a bit tough, but if we can see, I mean, you just got to do what you got to do as you continue to build up that Radiant Greninja, which is going to be the major player in this matchup.
Yep.
And hope to not get too disrupted by Piper as well.
True. Piper has so many opportunities to wildly disrupt Caleb's game plan. He's done a good job of kind of adapting on the fly, but all it's going to take is 1 or 2 really nasty Misfortune Sisters to really take the wind out of his sails. Pyukumuku, who is kind of an MVP, honestly, in game 1, is coming back into play. This is going to give Piper so much utility with the Silene and just being able to see extra cards in general.
Yep. Pyukumuku is, I would say, one of the MVPs of the deck, honestly, in general. So
Pokemon Center Lady. Very cute tech. Going to take a lot of those damage counters off. 60 damage now out of the equation for Caleb.
I mean, yeah, if you haven't played a supporter yet and you don't need to play a different one, you might as well. Get that damage out of here. Make it that much more difficult for Caleb to have to get through things.
Yeah, I might not have scoop-up nets, but I'm still not going to let this Cramorant run wild on my board.
Yep.
And so, yeah, Caleb
Still
doesn't
could take the
have anything really to do this turn. 4 cards in the Lost Zone. Cramorant's powered up. That's really the first major step. We saw that Sableye wasn't really a big player yet. We still need to dig through the deck as much as possible to get to the Kyogre win condition, and hopefully Misfortune Sisters plays into that. Here comes the Marnie. Probably one of the reasons that Caleb is maybe slowing down on using all these flower selectings.
Yeah, most definitely. That was the same thing that we saw in the last game as well for Piper, that sort of early game Marnie when you don't have a fully stacked hand and you can also disrupt your opponent. Worked really well in the last game, so we'll see what's happening here for Caleb. This game, Lost Zone is up to 6 now.
Okay, 6, and then 2 scoop-up nets being added to the hand thanks to Colress's experiment. So now we can turn on Mirage Gate. Maybe we're going to try to make this Radiant Greninja into a threat after all. There's concealed cards to draw 2 more. A Water Energy in the hand is fantastic. Double-checking the discard pile, making sure that there's still enough energy left in the deck itself. Pokestop also coming through. You can look at the top 4 cards of your deck and then draw any item cards placed there to your hand. Pardon me, top 3, and then any non-item cards get discarded. And finds an escape rope. So what's Piper going to think about promoting here? Just the other Snorlax, it looks like. Keep that big HP in the active spot. Means that you can just easily Gormandize without having to jump through any extra hoops. Caleb's going to take advantage of that to get Comfey into the active spot, and that is card number 7 into the Lost Zone.
Yeah, there is energy being attached to that Snorlax as well. It does have a move as well as its ability of Body Slam for 100 damage, and you also flip a coin, and if it's heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed. So there is an option for that too. Of course, I think that's...
Wow, yeah, just using all the scoop-up nets now.
Is that 2 Twin Energy? I think it's just 1 Twin Energy.
I think that is 2 Twin Energies. So, you know, Body Slam online. Let's go.
Let's go, Body Slam.
I think this will be the first time I've ever seen a Mewtwo V Union Control deck. You know, Snorlax just is a blank card. It only Gormandizes. This will be the first time in the history of the Pokemon TCG that it's ever going to attack.
I mean, I suppose if it plays to your strategy, that's what you gotta do, you know? But
the players keep an open mind. Use whatever resources you can.
Yeah, true.
And now all those energies now in the discard pile. Caleb's already bringing them to the top to prepare for the energy recycler. Those scoop-up nets did a great job of accelerating the Lost Zone now. 1 more to turn the Sableye online, and here it comes. Flower selecting. There's a Mirage Gate and... What's the other? And a Bird Keeper.
Oh, it's a Bird Keeper. Okay, so
it's going to be kept.
I don't think there was a supporter play this turn, but I may have missed it.
Was it Colress this turn already?
I don't think so. I know there was a Colress at some point, but maybe not. Maybe
it's all a blur.
I know.
There's so many cards, so many things flying in and out of the Lost Zone. We've got a Rangaroo as well.
Well, the Bird Keeper has been put back to the top, I believe, with that Primate Wisdom. So keeping it there for safety. Yeah,
beautiful way to just, you know, if Marnie is coming through, you still get access to that draw supporter and that switch that you're going to need. And if it's Misfortune Sister, it won't get discarded, but it does force the deck to be shuffled regardless. And Piper is going to find the next Mewtwo V Union piece with the Ultra Ball. That is 2 now in the discard pile, if I've been keeping up, Shelby.
Yeah, and like we said at the beginning, those Ultra Balls, 2 of them were in the prize cards, I believe, as well. So seeking out those Mewtwo pieces is that much more difficult for Piper. So definitely, oh, I see there's 1 in hand, though. Oh, and it's getting research.
Actually, beautiful.
I think even with those 2 Ultra Balls in the prize cards, I'm pretty sure that's 3 pieces now in the discard pile. 3 pieces of the Mewtwo V Union.
And even with those scoop-up nets as well in the prize cards, Caleb was kind of slow off the starting line to get the Cramorant up and running and try to take down some knockouts. Crushing Hammer, not going to do it.
Yeah, that was the Pokestop, I think, that Piper
just
played off
Interesting.
Of.
Yeah, so, that's true.
Yeah, if the stadium is in play, either of the players can use it. So that was the Pokestop that we saw.
Very clever, trying to hit that final Mewtwo V Union piece to try to get that discarded.
Crushing Hammer, but there's no energy on Caleb's board at the moment. But it is in hand now. Galar Mine comes into play as well, making pivoting options that much more difficult. You have to have a switch card. I know that Caleb does have an escape rope in the hand, so there is that already, but Galar Mine just making it that much more difficult to deal with another thing.
Fortunately, the Lost Zone is 10 cards. Typically, the manual retreat is mostly used for Comfey.
Yeah.
To use that flower selecting one more time, and Caleb has finally achieved that objective. Gets another flower selecting choice spell and escape rope. Very tough decision.
Yeah, Piper is so close here to that Mewtwo V Union as well. 3 pieces already in the discard pile. There was a Gormandize there for 1 card, but it was just a Yveltal.
Escape rope now being used by Caleb. Snorlax being replaced by the other Snorlax. And it looks like Sableye is the one being promoted to the active. Caleb's just making sure, already calculating where he wants these damage counters to go. We see 2 Psychic Energy in the hand. He's going to attach that right now for the turn. And now Lost Mine is active. Once again, Caleb can just simply put 12 damage counters on Piper's Pokemon in any way he likes. And then another Primate Wisdom just to remain resilient against that Marnie that was shuffled into the deck with the Pal Pad. Here comes the dice. 2, 4, 6. Setting these Snorlaxes up for Cramorant KOs. And there it is, 12 damage counters now all over Piper's board. Now she has to find that final Mewtwo V Union piece. Quick Ball is going to find Pyukumuku, and it's going to set up the next pitch to draw one more card. And Caleb, once again, setting up this board of damaged Pokemon so that he can come through and take a multi-prize turn. So far, only 1 prize has been taken, and once Mewtwo V Union hits the board, maybe if it takes a knockout or 2, the scoop-up net's going to begin to deny this damage. Yeah. Peonia now being found off the Pyukumuku, a great supporter here to look into the prize cards if Piper really feels that she wants to take the chance and find some scoop-up nets to get these damaged Pokemon out of play.
Also very critical if you do end up prizing a piece of the Mewtwo V Union.
And heads on the Crushing Hammer.
Crushing Hammer hits, so that is going to be an energy moved into the discard pile. Caleb is going to have to deal with that. Now, I believe there was another energy in hand, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, there is one more. We'll see if Marnie comes through, perhaps. Scoop up net on the Snorlax, and then a Professor's Research to draw 7 more. Where is this final piece? I think I see it there.
Yeah. It is there, and there also is another scoop up net from that research as well. Lots of cards. A lot of cards here for Piper, but is there a way to discard it is the question.
True. Can we discard this Mewtwo V Union piece?
You know, two Ultra
and the Body Slam. Let's go. Draws a prize.
Taking out that Sableye, requiring Caleb to just respond again. Now the Sableye is gone, so you have to get it back or have another one, pretty much.
Oh, and Radiant Greninja hits the active spot. That Galar Mine is still there, so we can't manually retreat this. We're going to need a manual switch card.
Yeah, that's...
Colress's Experiment, going to look at the top 5. I see a Scoop Up Net and the Ordinary Rod. What a heaven-sent item here. Can put the Sableye back into the deck. So glad this didn't get discarded by the Misfortune Sisters.
Yeah, you're happy to have it in your hands and not having it being discarded from your end of things.
And there's the energy already being decided there with the Energy Recycler.
Yeah, so I can't see how many cards are left in deck there for Caleb, but getting these energy back is super important. So even though it was discarded with the Crushing Hammer, it's now back in the deck, able to be Mirage gated onto this Radiant Greninja here now, and all Caleb needs is 1 more water energy to pull off a Moonlight Shuriken.
Yep, so there's the double Mirage gate. And 4 energy now attached to the Radiant Greninja. This is actually so helpful because you discard 2, but it means that afterwards you can just manually attach 1, and you can get that double Moonlight Shuriken without having to jump through too many extra hoops. So Caleb making the correct call, promoting this Radiant Greninja into the Galar Mine, and knew that the combination was already there with the Energy Recycler into the double Mirage Gate. Oh, and the Primate Wisdom to put the Bird Keeper back on top to maintain that switch ability for next turn. You'll love to see it. And here comes the Moonlight Shuriken. Where is this damage going to go?
Yeah, of course, also noting as well, choosing both those Psychic because the 2 water is required onto that Radiant Greninja. So, yep, that was a really heads-up play there from Caleb as well.
Even though
Playing
this
to all the
matchup is
outs.
hard, again, I'm not going to try to downplay it whatsoever, but Caleb is, I think, sticking with that narrow percentage and the Ultra Ball, discarding the final Mewtwo V Union piece and finding another Mewtwo V Union piece.
Is it going to be too
and
late?
the other Ultra Ball.
Is it going to be too late again? I thought we already had 3 in the discards, but I guess not. So there's the last 2 pieces that we needed being discarded now. So they're in the discard pile, and of course we are going to see the assembly of this ginormous Mewtwo V Union.
Once more he hath arrived, and there's the scoop up net. The damage Snorlax is being denied.
The V-Guard energy on top of that, oh my gosh.
Already has the attachment return into Union Gain, allowing you to attach 2 more Psychic Energy. And now going to get this all nice and pretty in the active spot. I love this full Mewtwo art.
Yeah, definitely. That is very, very pretty for sure. So now here we go. Caleb has to respond to this. This is not where you want to be. Well, you really don't want to be in this matchup as a Lost Box player, to be honest. But now you are at your most difficult position to be in. The Mewtwo V Union is in the active, and you don't do enough damage to deal with the healing ability that it has. You can't place damage counters on it because of its its
ability, Photon Barrier.
Yes, yeah, I didn't remember the name, but yes, Photon Barrier, blocking effects from your Pokemon. So it's a difficult position to be in.
Finds Sableye off the top thanks to Oranguru. We can still put plenty of damage onto these benched Pokemon, but that's only 2 prizes, and Caleb has to find the final 2 by going through Mewtwo V Union. They had the opportunity in the early parts of the game, but the Cramorant was just a little bit too slow, even without the scoop-up nets. Piper shut off the Pokemon Center. Lady just constantly foiling those plans, and here in the critical moment using those scoop-up nets, very well timed to deny. And here is 90 damage going onto Mewtwo V Union, 90 damage going onto that Snorlax on the bench. And now Peonia comes through. Piper already knows that there's scoop-up nets in the prize cards and is going to try to find them here now. Looks like she found 1, and you can put back 3 cards from your hand to take the place of those prizes. Misfortune Sisters being discarded. Ultra Ball, you don't need that. Put it right back in the prizes. And now just going to heal
Here we
the
go.
Mewtwo.
Caleb is going to scoop it up with that Mewtwo V Union being active. Piper is now our finalist here in Toronto. Piper Lepine taking it down. She has been on a wrath of fury here with this Mewtwo V Union, taking it into the final, Skarzig.
And you can see how confident she is in this deck's position for the metagame and how confident she is in her ability to pilot it. This is a control deck, and Chip had already mentioned earlier that these control decks sometimes just run out of time that they need to complete their best of 3 and truly advance. Even if they're in a favored position, even if they're in a favored matchup, just the way the rules of the game will work and at this level of competition. So Piper is very cleanly, smoothly, quickly operating this deck so efficiently and is advancing to the finals here in the 2023 Toronto Regional Championships. But who is Piper's opponent?
So we did get an update. Christian Lavella took down the match. So our finals is going to be Mewtwo V Union Control against Duraludon. Duraludon VMAX, baby. One of my favorites. My little pet deck here has made it to the finals. I'm very happy to see that. And of course, Piper Lepine, extraordinary in that matchup. Caleb Gedemer as well did everything he could in that match to get through as much as he possibly could. But like we said from the very start, it was just a tough matchup to have to get through. It was an uphill climb the whole time, but Caleb did a great job still. Such a worthy opponent to have. Like, Caleb is very well known in the community, has a very top tier testing group, and made it all the way to top 4 with that Lost Box deck. Such a difficult deck to play. So many choices you have to make, so many matchup strategies you can go